Hello everybody, it is Giulia. It's been a minute since I last uploaded, but in the past month or so, maybe a couple of months, I've been quite busy. I was applying to a bunch of PhD schools for next year, and in the meantime I had to work and study, so it's been a bit crammed and packed, and I decided to postpone uploading videos so that I would not completely burn out and just get some time off when I needed it. But now that I'm basically done with PhD applications, I think I need to share some thoughts and lessons learned so that hopefully it can be useful for you in case you decide to go down the path of, academia and applying for a PhD, and you can get, the best shot that you possibly can when you apply. So let's start. Quick summary, I was in a PhD in computer science last year. I quit recently in October. And now that I'm collecting actually my ideas and understanding what it is that I want to work on and study and do research on, I'm applying to schools that are more targeted towards what I'm interested in. So I just finished the bulk of the application rounds because all the deadlines are now gone for next year. And yeah, it's been a journey. So let me share with you the most important things that I think you need to know when you want to apply for a PhD. First thing, I think, and the most important one, probably quite trivial in a way, but really do start early as you possibly can. In a way, the moment you decide to go for a PhD, start looking for schools and start planning ahead. In my experience, actually, if you want to start September 2023, which is the next useful round, because most deadlines for 2022, at least if you want to go to the United States and European schools, is now gone. So if you want to start September 2023, applications will be due this December, November, January 2023. So prior to that, you need to prepare a bunch of tests and applications and references from professors. So do start anywhere from 6 months to a year in advance. So probably start thinking about it now if that's your intention. And I hope that by the moment you see this video, actually you are within a reasonable time range to move without too much rush and too much pressure. Because basically what you need to do for a PhD is that you need to plan a few steps. The first step is probably in most schools you're going to have to take language tests. If you're going to be speaking in English, they want to have a TOEFL test or IELTS test within, I think, a couple of years. So you need to take a new one. Probably I had to take a new TOEFL test. And that takes some time to prepare, because you need to get used to the exercises. You need to know the target score of the schools that you apply to so that you can, work ahead and only take the test when you're kind of feeling ready to reach that score. Otherwise, you're going to waste money. And that is going to also take a month-ish, maybe a bit less, to obtain the results. So if your application is due December, maybe start 3 months ahead of time to at least get the shot at taking one test. But ideally, get yourself the chance to retake the test 2 times in case the scores do not meet the minimum requirements. So 6 months only go for the TOEFL test, the GRE test, which is actually tricky to prepare because it's not so much difficult for the topics in and of themselves, but the timing and the type of exercises really require practice. The test is really intensive. It's like 5 hours of looking at the screen non-stop because you're being proctored, and you cannot really distract or look away, otherwise your test might get, invalidated. So do prepare for the GRE test also in advance, and for that one especially, if you want to go to top computer science schools or technical schools, the scores can be quite high and quite difficult to obtain. I didn't meet them the first time around, and so I had to retake the test because it was really difficult to just be in shape for that type of exercises that I needed to hone in to pass the test with a reasonable score. So plan ahead and try to start, for example, if you want to apply this December, get the material, start taking courses, start at least thinking about the idea of taking the GRE and the TOEFL test, basically kind of roundabout now, and then go from there. Maybe take them during the summer break. Once you take the tests, another thing that you need to do is actually decide which schools you want to apply to, because that will require, in my opinion, also some financial planning, because the tests have an application fee and have a fee in themselves. The book material to prepare for the test costs some money. Every school, especially if you go to the United States, has an application fee. So if you start skimming ahead of time the schools that you really want to target, you're gonna be able to also budget that, because if you apply to 5 schools, it's easily $500 or euros of application fees plus the tests. So, and it starts adding up, especially if you're a student and maybe only working part-time or maybe not working at the moment. So it is difficult and it needs some planning. And the earlier you start, the more you can skim the schools and decide which ones are actually relevant for you based on your interest, based on the research, or the location that you want to move to. So that will also help you save some money and maybe apply for an application fee waiver in case you're eligible, so that it can also, be beneficial to you to meet that deadline just in case. The third thing also is tied to this planning ahead and skipping applications and energy towards applications that are really not relevant for you. I think applying for a PhD is really gonna require a lot of reading for all the different schools, all the different research groups, and just being up to date with what they're doing, because ultimately you're gonna basically join an ongoing research. It's unlikely that you're gonna start from scratch with something unheard of within the group. So you need to know where the expertise that you need are located in the world, reading the papers that they are doing, trying to understand if you're a good match. And that's also a shot in the dark, because not every professor will be available to have a chat before applying. I only had the chance to do it with one professor, and it's not easy to just go black box and invest and be ready to invest 5 to 6 years of your life in a group that you don't really know, if you don't even do the research on what they're working on, the type of applications that they go for. So it's gonna take some time. I would say take a month to just do the readings and just have a look at all the research output of the groups that you might be interested in, so that by the time the applications come, you're also prepared to write what, in my opinion, was the most time-consuming thing of all, which was the statement of purpose for every application, because you need that, and I think it's one of the key selling points of your application. But you cannot really write one and have it be valid for all the schools that you're interested in, because reasonably you're gonna want to tie in your statement of purpose with the research group that you're gonna ultimately join. And so for each of the supervisors that you're targeting, it's probably a different reason. Maybe one of them has the topic that you're really interested in, the other one has a research group that is having and studying with a specific research methodology that you are excellent at. And for each of them, you're gonna specifically have to say, I would love to join this research group for this and that reason. I fit in because I can bring in this and that expertise, which is hardly something that is gonna be valid all across the board. And so you're gonna need to know yourself, your expertise, your interests, and the expertise, the interest, the work style, and just the environment of the research group that you want to apply to eventually produce a couple of pages of statement of purpose that is gonna say, okay, this is the research that I can do with you, and this is why I'm a good fit for you, and this is why you are a good fit for me, and this is where I see this going long term. So it's a lot of work. For every school that I applied to, I think I could have easily used kind of couple of weeks to a month-ish sometimes, considering that I'm working in the meantime, so I cannot dedicate full time to this process. Basically, I spent a couple of weeks for every school that I applied to make sure that I was a good fit. Some schools that I had identified at first I decided to not apply eventually because I was just not convinced that we would match. So some plans changed along the way, and also give yourself the space to have that. So that's why I'm once again going back to starting ahead of time. So that is very important. Give yourself time to write the best statement of purpose possible. I think I'm going to make a video and explain the way in which I found, and I think you can write an effective statement of purpose. Of course, I don't know everything and all the rules, but I can share what I learned on the way and what I think worked for me. Then another thing that actually takes time, and it's basically not up to you, is the references. You're gonna need 2 to 3 references everywhere you apply, from professors, people you worked with, supervisors, or anything like that are gonna promote you and say how good of a fit you're gonna be for that school. And the problem with this is that, first of all, 3 references is a lot. It's especially if you only have a bachelor's degree with you, you're gonna have to think hard and just identify 3 professors, probably. Maybe if you work, some mentor or supervisor that can write something good about you, and you need to reach out to them. Maybe they have a busy schedule, maybe your email gets lost in spam because you're going back to academia after years of just working, and now it's gonna be hard. So I think for the references, really start like 3 months ahead of the deadlines, because if the references are not in by the time of the deadline, your applications will be wasted, and you wasted your money for the tests, your money for the application fee, just because the professor didn't send the email and the reference on time. That is not ideal. So we want to avoid that. Start like 3 months early. Give the professors like a month-ish to reply to you, to say yes or no to the email. Maybe have a chat with them and say, I'm interested in these topics. I think that you can write a good reference because this is what I did with you. Maybe they are your supervisor. Maybe they saw you working on a specific topic. Explain to them what you think you can get out of a reference from them, so that they can also understand how to tailor it best for you. And give yourself like a month to arrange this meeting, for example. And then professors have a busy schedule, workers have a busy schedule, so do not assume that they can get your reference done with good quality, with the quality that you want. Giving them like a month notice, or a week's notice prior to the deadline, that's likely not going to happen. So for all the supervisors that I asked the reference to, I talked to them 1 to 2 months in advance, and then I gave them that time window so that they could send it to all the schools that I decided to apply to. And I think that's important, because it would be really unfortunate if you cannot really meet a deadline for something that is so completely not up to you. Because what if a professor is busy and maybe out of town for a month? What are you gonna do? It's really not something that you can do anything for. So that is also something that you need to account for. And all these things together, I think, make for a lot of time that will be spent thinking about the PhD, going through the process, applying, waiting for results of the test, recommendations from the professor. So that is why I'm thinking you're gonna need 6 months to a year prior to the deadline of the applications that you want to target for the year after. And especially if you work full time, if you study, the more time you give yourself, the more you can also take a breath if you need a break, because really it's a process that is time consuming and takes a lot of space in your mind, because that's ideally, I think, I'm imagining something that you care for, and you're not gonna really be at peace until you get it done. I know that the past couple of months have been really draining for me. I'm incredibly tired, and I could have definitely worked a bit ahead of time. I think I started last year March buying the material for the tests, and then slowly recovering from just finding the motivation to apply to something new. And I think that I could have used a few months more just to take things slowly and not rush things, because at the end of the day I definitely sent a lot of material kind of last minute for especially the applications that had a deadline early December. So you don't want to do that. Just give yourself the peace of mind of applying to the PhDs that you really want without pressure, and just doing the best application possible that you can produce, so that you have the highest chances and the best chances to get admitted. This was kind of the summary of the things that I have to say for now. Of course, for each and every one of these things, I think I could talk for a whole video about. I can share what I learned for the statement of purpose, for the reference letters, resume, like how to find fitting research groups. So probably if you're interested, maybe leave a comment and let me know. And I definitely want to talk about this because it's something I care about, and I think a lot of the people that watch my videos also have an interest in academia, and definitely probably in computer science, and maybe there's something that I can do to help you. So I hope this video was useful, and I will see you, I don't know exactly when because I'm still tired, but I will see you soon. Bye.